Hi, welcome. I'm Ted McLyman, author of the book, Discover Your Money Temperament, a common sense guide to financial security. I wrote this book because after working with hundreds of folks just like yourself, young and old, high school students, college students, people in the workforce, retirees, it became obvious to me that we as humans are just not hardwired to work well with money. I know I said it. But what it simply means is our biology gets in the way. And what I mean by our biology, our DNA, the way we're wired, was put together hundreds of thousands of years ago. Many scientists believe that the brain biology we have today is the same biology that we had generations ago. Unfortunately, the economy you're facing today and the way you're asked to make money choices is a very, very modern phenomenon. So what it simply means is the way you're naturally hardwired to work with money does not necessarily work that well in today's economy. Let me give an example. Your brain evolved to keep you alive in the forest, not the mall. So keep that in mind as we move along. Humans are not naturally hardwired to work with money. Then we have to factor in your environment. Really where you get your beliefs about money. Your money beliefs are critical to how you make your spending choices. Money beliefs are a function or a result of where you grew up and how you grew up. Most people have well established their belief set with money by the time you're in middle school. Now think about that for a second. That means if you've got any age at all, and maybe back in the 80s and you were worried about big hair and starter jackets, and that was your spending focus, it means today you're still spending about the same way. A lot of people think it's your parents. It's not necessarily your parents that formulated your belief set. It was your peer group. And your peer group, the way they spent their money and the way they interacted and the way they determined what was important about money to them influenced your spending beliefs and how you think and feel about money today. The third part about money that you need to realize is your culture. Your culture has an incredible impact on how you think and feel about money, how you make your spending choices, and how you determine what's important to you and where you need to allocate your scarce resources and spend your money. Now, I've been a financial advisor for years. I worked with a number of people in that capacity, often from different cultures. I spent a career in the Marine Corps, traveling around the world, and I had real-hand experience working in different cultures and watching how money was spent. And my Marines and sailors would do all kinds of crazy things with money. But the bottom line is, where you grew up has your belief set, but the culture you came from has left an indelible imprint on your feeling and thinking with regard to money and greatly influences your spending choices. So in the book, in part one of the book, the first few chapters deal with this problem, that humans are not hardwired to do well with money. Again, it is your biology, it is your belief set, and it's your culture that conspire against you on a daily basis to make your spending choices. And let me give you an example. Let's just assume you're at a store, maybe a large mall or something like that. The way you interact in there is a function of your biology. When you go to the mall, you're already wired and primed to spend money. And you've got this feel-good drug flowing through you called dopamine that makes you anticipate spending things and feel good about the process. But your belief set with regard to money is also going to determine the types of things you want to go after and how much money you want to spend and whether you want to go by yourself or in a group. And then finally, your culture determines whether you need the current clothing, the current fad, the current whatever. So think about it for a second. How you spend today is a function of who you are, and who you are is reflected in how you spend. So that's a major problem I talk about in the book, and that's what we talk about in his introduction in this course. So the next question is, how do you fix it? What is the problem we're trying to resolve? Well, as I said before, I spent a number of years as a licensed financial advisor. I worked with a lot of people. Some were good with money and some not so good with money. But the bottom line is they all wanted to do something with their money to better their chosen lifestyle and where they wanted to be in the future. So I put together what I call the money behavior system to help people better understand how they think and feel about money so they could be better with their money choices. And the model is very simple. It has 5 parts. The first is your money values. Money values is nothing more than what is important about money to you. It's the things that are most important in life to you that cost money. And if you don't have those things at the end of your life or in your chosen lifestyle, it causes anxiety. It causes problems. Now, when I talk to a lot of people and I talk to them about how do they determine their money values, I'll tell you an easy way to do that. Take a look at your checkbook. Take a look at your calendar. Where you spend your time and where you spend your money really is an indicator of what is important about money to you. And I don't judge. It's up to you. It's your money. It's your life. But you need to realize that if you have these high ideals that maybe you want to open an orphanage someplace across the other part of the world, but when I look at your checkbook and your calendar, it says something completely different. Accept the fact that you probably can't do both. So you're going to have to make some choices. If you choose to live today and spend today, that causes a problem, and it means it's going to have an influence on what you can do in the future. So money values are number 1. Number 2 is your money temperament. Money temperament is simply how you naturally, organic, feel and think about money. And again, that's a reflection of your natural biology, everything from your genes on up. It is your belief set, where you grew up, how you grew up, and what you believe about money. And then finally, your culture. That comes together, and that on a daily basis influences how you think and feel about money, how you spend, and how you make your choices. Next piece is what I call your money knowledge. Money knowledge is nothing more than how you like to process information. All of us take in information differently. Today, or at any given time, you're being bombarded with billions and billions of bits of information. Your body takes this in and it processes that information, and it has to set priorities. Well, we take information either through our eyes, you're a visual person, through your ears, an auditory person. You may like to touch things, being tactile, or you may be a numbers kind of person, a digital person that likes to look at the numbers and crunch that piece. But the point being with your money knowledge, and I consider this as the way you learn. Now, granted, when most people say money knowledge is the technical knowledge. What I have found, the technical knowledge is okay, but that's only part of the problem. You still have to know what's important about money to you, your money values. Your money values have to be aligned with your temperament. And when you take in information, it should be in a way that is best suited for you, the way you like to process information. Why is this important? Because money is focused on numbers. There's a lot of numbers, and we tend to get overpowered by the numbers because financial people can give you more data than you need to know about. Well, that means if you're not a numbers person, you're going to be overwhelmed. So that means just sit back and take time to make sure you're looking at information in the way you like to assimilate it. Money knowledge. Next piece is what I call money strategy. Money strategy is nothing more than the top level approach to achieving what is important in life to you, to give you financial peace of mind. Your strategy has to move you towards your money values. It has to incorporate your money temperament. They have to be aligned. And then it also has to be presented in a way that you're comfortable with the information. Once that's put together, the last piece is what I call money action. Money action, money plan, it's the same thing. You've got to execute something. You've got to put it in place, be it a budget, a financial tool, a product or service, a job. It doesn't matter what it is, but you've got to do something to bring in money so you can turn it into something in the future to support your lifestyle. That is the money behavior system. What's important about money to you? What is your money temperament? How do you process information, your money knowledge? What is the strategy you're going to have to accomplish what's important in life? And then what is the plan and how are you going to execute it? Now, when you bring this all together, that's part 2 of the book. But I also have a couple of other things that I think are really important to understand for you as you're moving forward to make better money choices. Number 1, today's economy is different than it was a few years ago. What worked a few years ago with regard to money may not work today. So I tell everybody I work with, and it's in the book in detail, that today everybody is self-employed. You have to consider yourself as the CEO of you. You are accountable and responsible for what you do and fail to do with your money. And with regard to money, the outcome will not be determined sometimes for a number of years, but you will ultimately be held accountable. You are the president, the CEO, the charge of the business of you. Once you understand that you are accountable and responsible, then it becomes a little easier to bring the program together. But also realize that on any given day, your brain is in charge when it comes to money. And in the book and in this lesson, I introduce what I call the feeling brain and the thinking brain. Okay, I don't want to get into all the details about brain science and what's going on inside your head and the difference between mind and brain and all that stuff. This is not a class of neurology or behavior. All you need to understand, and the way I keep it simple, you have a feeling brain, you have a thinking brain. Your brain is about that big. It's the most complex organism in the universe as far as it's concerned. Is there lots of things happening there, trillions of synapses, lots of cells, lots of things. And your brain is really the two parts. The feeling brain is quick. It's automatic. It's non-conscious or subconscious. It's reactive. It deals with experience, and it's highly emotional. That's the piece of your brain that is the default. It's on cue 24/7. It keeps your heart pumping. It keeps your brain working. It regulates your temperature, your breathing. It is your default. It is lazy in the sense that it wants to conserve energy, and it's on drugs in the sense that it uses hormones to keep you stimulated. I said dopamine before, the feel-good drug and buying and spelling, but you've also got other things that are happening there that make you who you are. The thing to remember with your feeling brain, it is the default. It's emotional. Then on top of that, you've got your thinking brain. Your thinking brain is your modern brain. Hasn't been around all that long. And this is where you actually sit down and do deliberate things. It's good with numbers. It's focused. It's one-dimensional. It's slow. It's deliberate. It's modern. And it works in conjunction with your feeling brain to keep you alive. Most of your spending, about 95 to 99% of it, happens automatically, unconsciously, and it's driven by your feeling brain based on who you are, your biology, your belief set, and your culture. In those cases where spending should be really important and consequential, I would hope you take the time to move into your thinking brain. And there you take deliberate steps to make very focused spending because it's important. Focused spending out of your thinking brain would be like doing your taxes, would be like a major purchase, doing a lot of math. But the key here is that takes a lot of energy, both emotional energy but calories. And your body does not like to stay in that thinking brain piece very long. And it's going to default down to the feeling brain. That's why when you go to buy a car, you may slip up and buy all the extra add-ons because your emotional brain feels it's cool, it's okay, they like it. And it overcomes what's going on in your thinking brain. Give you an example. Have you ever run into a store to buy something small, and maybe it's a supermarket and you're buying milk and bread and you want to go in and get out, but by the time you get out to your car, you realize you spent a lot more money than you'd intended on things you didn't need, with money you really don't have, and maybe even forgot the milk and bread? Of course you have. We do this all the time. It's not a problem for small or non-consequential spending. I mean, you're on a trip, you stop at a convenience store for gas, you buy the gas and run in, and you load up on really expensive drinks and food. That's not a problem there per se. However, when you're into things that are much more important, like deciding on a school to go to, retirement planning, 401ks, investments, buying a house, buying a car, then it is consequential. And you have to sit down and engage your thinking brain with a situational awareness and do the right thing. Now, there are a lot of things you can do to become a better spender. I talk about them in the book, but probably the simplest is just be deliberate. Make a list. It's amazing what a list will do. And here's another little secret. If you take the book and you throw it in your purse, briefcase, or throw it in your car when you're ready to go spending, it's amazing how much money you can spend. So to wrap this up, let me give you a couple of insights that I think are really important about why we have trouble with money and some of the things we do that you need to be aware of. And we're going to touch on in this course, but they're also going to be available on a follow-on course that covers this in details. It covers this book and a previous book I wrote with J. Alexander Martin, one of the founders of the FUBU Corporation, where we really get into the temperament discussion. But first, remember, as humans, we like stories, not numbers. We are suckers for stories because stories go right to our feeling brain. They're emotional. They make us take action. And think about it for a second. The narrative, the story, kept our species alive for years and years and years, generations and generations before even the written word. So we are wired to like stories, not numbers. That also means that if there are a lot of numbers, you may turn off and go with the emotional side. That can cost you some money. We seek to confirm, not to deny. What do I mean here? When we're making a decision, we are social animals. We are herding animals. We always like to confirm what we're doing because as humans, we really don't like to stand out in the crowd. We don't like to be on our own as much as sometimes we think we do. So it's a natural instinct on our end to collaborate with people we know and respect to have a consensus on a decision. The problem is that circle of friends or those acquaintances may think exactly the way we do and you're not getting good information. So if it's a really important decision, instead of trying to get everybody concerned to confirm where you're going and what you're going to spend your money on, particularly on social media, it's better to find somebody to talk you out of it. Sometimes we're just lucky, not brilliant. It's very easy to fall in this trap when you're finding somebody, particularly on social media, the celebrity, whatever. And let me give you a better example, reality TV. We know with HGTV, it looks incredibly easy to flip a home. And that there are people on HGTV that are making millions and millions of dollars as celebrities and house flippers or whatever. Well, what you're not seeing there is how difficult that is and what goes into the process of making that happen. And you're not seeing how many people fail at that effort. Sometimes people that are highly successful were not brilliant at all. They were just lucky. We tend to see what we expect and not the truth. Again, as humans, our biology again, we tend to look for things that confirm our decisions again, but we tend to see what we expect. Think about this for a second when you're out driving. If you're out driving and you've been driving the same route for years, you're not even aware what's going on around you. But you only notice what's going on around you when something unusual happens. You see the exception. That's the way our brains work. But it also means we will go out and look for correlation or relationships that don't exist and use those as the truth when the truth is much deeper, and that's a thinking brain activity. We like order, not chaos. Our brains like things that are comfortable and easy. Our brains are lazy. The default is where they want to spend their time. So when things are all confusing and chaotic, our brains want to go in the direction of, let's make this better. And in spending situations under high pressure and stress, you may take bad decisions. That's the time you want to sit back and count to 10 and go, hey, breathe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to get through this. Stop. Let me get some help. We are emotional animals who think we are not thinking animals with emotions. This is critical. And this is what I put in all my books and everything I've done dealing with people for years. This is what it's all about. We as humans are not as rational as we sometimes think. We are emotional animals and emotions is the default. As a matter of fact, I would make the statement that nobody is 100% rational. We are emotional. That's how we make our decisions. And if you were 100% rational and you had to make a decision that was totally rational on all the information possible, you would never get out of bed. Finally, our brains are not perfect. They're not computers. It's an associative brain. It's a collection of all kinds of things that are going on in your life, past, intermediate, and right now. Those things come together to put touch marks or benchmarks in your brain that you go back and rely on to pull together information so you can choose. Sometimes that information is incorrect. Sometimes it's biased. Sometimes it's flat wrong. But we rely on it because our brains are not computers. It's a collection of past experiences. And realize that we're never as rational as we think, and we never have all the information. Finally, we're always going to be human with our money. And because we're human, that will always influence our spending and how we relate with the spending situation. We are not the rational economic animals that traditional economists talk about. I mean, I taught economics and traditional economics for a number of years. I taught at the Naval Academy and a few other places. But what we taught there is being the ability to make decisions on total information and being rational and doing the right thing. Man, that just doesn't work as well as we would hope. So to wrap this thing up, first part of the book is about you and your biology. You are a product of your heredity, your natural biology. You're human, and you're always going to act human. Your humanness is influenced by where you grew up and the behaviors you learned with regard to money. And finally, that's in the envelope of your culture. The system to make this work is a simple system, but it's incredibly powerful, and you're going to get it here, and you're going to read about it in the books. Number one, it's money values. Money values are the key things that are driving you forward, that put you in a position to go out and earn money and work hard and get the things you're looking for. Money temperament has to be aligned with your values. We don't judge. I don't care how you think and feel about money, but you need to know what it is, and you need to align your temperament and your values so when you're moving forward and designing your strategy and your action plan, that they all support each other. Plans fall together. It's been my experience when you have a plan that's designed for somebody else, and you can't make it work because it doesn't support your temperament. So to finish up, thank you for the quick 20 minutes, and I hope you enjoy the course. Read the book. Buy the book I did with Jay. Maybe take the next course. But more importantly, I hope as a result of this exercise, you are now a better spender and you take better choices. Take care.